A satellite-guided navigation system like a GPS delivers enormous environmental benefits by helping you determine the shortest, most direct route. The shorter the route, the quicker the trip, and the less your engine runs, which saves time, fuel, and reduces emissions. But a car driving on flat ground is traveling in only 2 dimensions. What if you had added a 3rd dimension, height, and then threw in a few obstacles to avoid like bad weather and mountains? Suddenly, determining the shortest, most direct route gets a lot more complex. And that's what airplanes face every day. Well, one airline has succeeded in bringing the benefits of satellite-guided navigation to flight.
When it comes to showing commitment, actions speak louder than words, and a history of action is the greatest commitment of all. Alaska Airlines is taking an industry-leading effort in in-flight recycling at 95% of the cities they serve, and diverting 46% of their recyclables from a landfill with the goal of increasing the percentage of waste recycled during flight. In the mid-1980s, its sister carrier, Horizon Air, began recycling in-flight waste. It's still recycling 64% of all waste generated during in-flight service. Together, they're also working to minimize the environmental impact of their operations by reducing aircraft noise and emissions and improving fuel efficiency, beginning with the choice of planes they fly.
Alaska Airlines has invested in a new fuel-efficient fleet of Boeing 737 aircraft that are also equipped with aerodynamic improvements, mainly winglets. Our regional carrier, Horizon Air, has just recently become a single fleet carrier, that single fleet being Q400 aircraft. The Q400 aircraft is also very fuel efficient. It's about 30% cleaner and more economical than regional jet aircraft. We've reduced our carbon emissions by about 23% since 2004.
The carriers are not simply buying the latest innovations, they're creating them. Alaska Airlines pioneered the development of Required Navigation Performance, or RNP, in the mid-1990s.
The traditional means of navigation was to use ground-based navigational systems. Basically, aircraft would zigzag across the country using these ground-based navigational systems. With RNP, an aircraft can fly a much more precision path through congested airspace, around terrain, and around inclement weather. RNP allows our pilots to execute approaches to lower minimums with lower visibility.
That results in shorter overall flight paths, as well as fewer cancellations and diversions. Plus, the aircraft can fly controlled approaches with pinpoint accuracy.
The traditional means of navigation, to get down to that traffic pattern aircraft, after giving a number of descents, what we call stair step from their en route altitude. Using RMP, Alaska Airlines pilots can execute what's called an optimal profile descent, whereby they reduce the throttles, that puts the engines back at idle, burns less fuel, and can basically glide the aircraft down and then execute a much shorter approach path to the runway.
Simple modifications like more direct routes combined with efficient landings have a huge environmental impact.
Well, the environmental benefits using RMP, first of all, a much straighter flight path. You couple that with a shorter approach, it results in fuel savings, less carbon emissions, and a reduction of noise.
To maximize the benefits for the entire community, Alaska Airlines started the Greener Skies Over Seattle initiative at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport with the Boeing Company, the Port of Seattle, and the FAA to implement more efficient and quieter approach paths at SeaTac using RNP and continuous descent procedures.
Well, Alaska Airlines and Horizon Airlines make up about half of the flights at SeaTac Airport. So when you take our aircraft, couple that up with some other carriers that have similarly equipped fleets, we think that the fuel savings would be about 2.1 million gallons per year. Even more dramatic would be the carbon emission reduction of about 22,400 metric tons. To put it in perspective, that's the equivalent of taking about 4,100 cars off of the highway. The additional benefits would be a noise reduction to the approximate 3/4 million folks that live in the approach corridor. Because of the precision of RMP, it allows aircraft to be much more efficiently spaced across the national airspace.
The FAA has indicated that the Greener Skies initiative serves as a model for part of the next generation air transportation system, the FAA's plan to modernize the national airspace systems. Alaska Airlines is the only U.S. carrier with a fully equipped fleet and fully trained crews making use of RNP in Alaska and the continental United States. For more information, visit alaskaair.com or call 1-800-ALASKA-AIR.